There we go. All right. Welcome back, Inebri-art. Hang on. All right. Welcome back, Inebri-art. Having some technical difficulties here, so hopefully they're done with. Which you never know. Gotta love Zoom.
Oh yeah.
But we're joined today by Michael Carini, who I met. We did our annual Pages and Pints events at Mayflower Brewery this past year. And Michael is author of a series of books called Tyler Madison, which is like a historical fiction. Um, and the thing I think that really drew me to your table, being a big fan of history, was all the added history that you had on there. You had all sorts of checks and Confederate money, and it was just a very cool display that, I mean, really,
Yeah,
I really jumped out, you know?
I love history. I'm a big history guy. I love collecting history. I love preserving history. Some of my pieces that I don't even know if I brought, I have Civil War letters, graphic letters from the South, sent home to their parents and about what's going on in the war and how camp life was. That stuff just intrigues me. I had checks from presidents, different presidential autographs. I love to bring all that into the table because it's just adds to the book and it kind of brings history to the people if they're interested in it, and they get to flip through Confederate money that doesn't even exist anymore. So it's kind of cool.
what what was kind of like your earliest interest in history? Like, were you into history in school? Like, I mean, I feel like I've always
Well, that
been.
would entail that I was interested in school,
No,
but no.
I'm right there with you. I found a lot of it boring, and I think mostly I was listening to a podcast today, and he just offhandedly mentioned how that the American school system is about memorizing things, and I'm like, yeah, that's why it's boring, you
Exactly.
know.
I couldn't agree more. No, how I got into it was about 30 years ago. My father started a business, a rubbish removal business, but that was the official start. We were doing it for years before that. So I remember being a little kid going with him and cleaning out houses and basically taking people's old stuff. And I'd be like, oh, this thing's cool. What is this? And I'd look up the history, or back then you actually had to go to a library to find stuff. I'm dating myself. I'm 48 years old. The internet came on when I was in high school. So, I'd have to research stuff and see what it is, and then, would find something else. And I loved antiques and collectibles. I was a big baseball card collector when I was a kid. So I had the collector bug, and one thing led to another. Now here I am kind of working with the family company for the past, 30 years we've been doing it. And I can't stop. I just keep collecting stuff, researching stuff, trying to find more about history. Um, actually found some really cool stuff that's in the Supreme Court, like the Historical Society and the Supreme
Oh, no
Court. So
kidding.
yeah, so some cool stuff, over the years that we've actually done and preserved. So I love it. It's just in my blood.
Yeah, and it's one of those. It's just like we're in such a good area for it too. You know,
Absolutely.
there's so much history. Just I was walking just down Main Street in Plymouth the other day, just going about my daily business, nothing exciting, and a woman was stopped reading a plaque on the side of a wall, and I'm like, I have no idea what that is. And like, and that made me think about like how many plaques in this town have I never stopped and looked at and read?
Or how many times have you walked by that plaque and haven't even read it? You know what I
Oh,
mean? Just because,
hundreds of times,
exactly,
hundreds. Yeah,
because you get used to it.
yeah,
It's almost like, we don't even appreciate it anymore. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So my uncle, he lived in Indiana for a lot of years, and he'd go to a yard sale, and it would be like kids' toys. You go to a yard sale here, you could find the potential of finding 100-year-old items is really common. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
They just, I don't know if you saw this. Some elderly woman put her home, I think it was her home in Argentina, up for sale,
Yeah.
and someone was viewing the photos, and they're like, "Hey, I think that's a stolen Nazi painting."
Really?
and it turned out like her father was in the Nazi party and had bought this house in Argentina and had been hanging there like the whole time. And
Wow,
so,
that's
yeah,
probably worth a pretty penny, I would imagine.
yeah, I think it's getting. I don't think she's getting money for it. I think they're just like, hey, that's ours. We're taking it back.
That's stolen.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But yeah, you never. I'm a huge collector too, and back in the day, it was comic books and action figures, and um,
I got all them too.
yeah, and it's just like you find some of the most coolest, bizarre stuff when you kind of like go to thrift stores and yard sales, and you just never know what you're gonna find.
Well, I mean, just yesterday. Hold on, man. I got it right here, actually. Just yesterday, I picked up
Oh,
this
nice, Dukes of Hazzard
with
lunchbox.
with
Does it have the thermos?
the thermos.
Nice.
You know what I mean? Where do you find that with the tag still on it? You
Oh
don't
wow.
find, you know what I mean?
No.
Like, so the amount of stuff that we come across is insane, you know?
Yeah. And just the stuff that people will put in a box and it just kind of gets lost and
Forget about it. Yeah.
found in walls and all sorts of crazy stuff.
Oh yeah, we're in so many houses, it's not even funny. Like we process, so like I said, we do rubbish removal, so we process 3 to 4 houses a week, and we come across so much stuff. It's insane what people are throwing out or getting rid of, or even selling. We buy collections a lot too, so it's I come across so much stuff. I love it. It's not even a
Yeah.
job. You know what I mean? It's fun. It's like a treasure hunt every day. Hence why I wrote a treasure hunting book.
So at what point were you like, I'm gonna make this? I mean, does it overlap? As Tyler a junk removal kid?
Yeah, I wish. No, but actually, believe it or not, my 2 kids are called Madison and Tyler. So my daughter is 21. She's named Madison. My son is Tyler. He's 18. Um, Thought it would be a cool name to, start the series, Tyler Madison and the Secret of Washington's Treasure. Long story short, they go on this crazy adventure and try to find George Washington's treasure that, all the presidents from John Adams down have been trying to find because they thought George Washington stole the treasure from the 13 colonies. So it's kind of a cool. It takes you all the way through Boston, the White House, and luckily I've been able to research in Boston pretty easily. You know what I
Yep.
mean? I could just drive. I could drive around. I can drive there in 20 minutes. But the White House was a little difficult. I luckily one time in my life I actually was in the Oval Office, so I
Oh
got
wow.
I got you know some memories from that. And you're not allowed to take photos, but I remembered some different things that were in there that kind of intrigued me. So they made it into the book and stuff like that. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
So, I mean, did you have? Is that based in history at all? Like, I've never heard a George Washington treasure.
No, no, not
Yeah,
at
is that
all.
just
So,
completely
so
okay?
yeah. So you ever hear how presidents pass down a letter to the following president or the
Yes.
the, the next
Yep.
president? I thought in my million things that run through my head in a day. I thought, wouldn't it be funny if, that letter got into the hands of the public and it was like a treasure hunt that only the presidents knew about? And then it
Oh,
morphed
I
in, and
see.
then it morphed into, well, Tyler Madison, wonder if his grandfather was president and ended up dying. And instead of giving it to the next guy, gave him that letter. And now it's Tyler Madison's job to find out this treasure. And wonder if we made George Washington a bad guy, but not really. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So did George Washington steal the treasure from the 13 colonies? And if you really go back, and there's some historical facts in here that are correct and
yeah.
accurate, and then some are made up. So that's where like teachers have asked me to write true and false stuff with the book. So when they present it to the kids, they can find out what was real and stuff. So there is some treasures out there. Every state has a lost treasure per se,
Oh, sure. Yeah,
story. So if you do a little homework on Google, you can find the lost treasure story from Virginia, and then those treasures become part of the ones that supposedly George Washington stole, and it. People say it all the time, and I don't mind it because I love the story, but they say it's kind of like National Treasure, which I
Yeah.
loved that. So, yeah, in a way it is, but it's kind of got a more of a Boston vibe to it, and book two is coming out, and which I like book two is much better. Book two is the hunt for Lincoln's reward. So basically, the premise of this story is, and this again, this was another one of these weird spins in my head. Um, John Wilkes Booth was known to have illegitimate kids. So
Okay.
one of his illegitimate kids lived up in the Boston area.
Yeah.
Well, he hears about the hunt. He doesn't like his father because his father left him to whatever. So he goes down, tries to find his father, finds his father, collects the reward. Well, now he's got half the South looking to kill him. So he travels west,
Yeah.
buys himself an island off of San Francisco, which is now Alcatraz. And now these kids, $100,000 back in the day, that's a lot of money. So now these kids are trying to find that guy's treasure and see where it's at.
Oh, interesting.
But
Yeah.
now they got to go deal with Alcatraz.
Alcatraz. Yeah. That's
So that's a cool little spin, you know what I mean? And then
yeah.
there's a lot more to it than that, but that's kind of where it's, the basis of it.
And I like how that you in the second book are you including kind of like a page in there that's going to be like these are the true facts and these are
Yeah, yeah, I'm
yeah
gonna probably yeah, I'm almost done with it. It's almost getting ready to be released, but there will be like a true false kind of thing in the back on this one.
yeah, that's cool. I really
Yeah.
like that because I feel like a lot of people wouldn't feel the kind of responsibility to do that and
Yeah.
you know
Like in my first one, that I described the Oval Office. It's absolutely correct, but there is a part where he sneaks under like this fireplace. Well,
yeah
that's fake. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? There's no way, unless there's some trapdoor that I didn't see or notice. So you know what I mean? But
right
you add there is a indoor pool in the White House. I don't know if you knew that, but there actually was at
uh,
one time an indoor pool.
that I didn't I know that there used to be bowling alleys
Yep.
at one point. I did know
Yep.
that.
Yeah, so I believe it was where the press room is now. So they ended up using that indoor pool to kind of escape a little area of the story. So there is some truth, some fiction.
Yeah, and it's so funny, like because I love history and I love urban legends
Hmm.
and folklore and all that stuff, and it's I mean stuff that I've known my whole life to be true. That like at some point you find out like oh that's not the story at all. And we were talking about comic books, and one that I heard recently was back in the '80s there was a Fantastic Four cartoon that
Okay.
the Human Torch wasn't on and was replaced with Herbie the Robot.
Okay.
And always growing up, it was the everyone was that he was replaced with Herbie the Robot because they were worried that kids would set themselves on fire.
Hmm.
But as it turns out, I just like within the past year with the new Fantastic Four movie coming out, that's got nothing to do with the Human Torch was tied up in rights by another company, so they didn't have the
So
rights to use them in a cartoon.
yeah, so they just spun it a different way.
Yeah, yeah. So it's really, and I mean, even from a I grew up in Whitman, so
Yep.
like home of the chocolate chip cookie, and like the story of that is that like the chocolate chips spilled into her cookie mix, and then there's talk that that may not actually that could just be the Toll House line, not
Yeah. I mean, I lived in Abington, so I'm next door, and
yeah,
I've heard that story as well. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
it doesn't surprise me.
Now, um, in researching for the book, like what was the kind of most surprising bit of history that you discovered that you didn't know?
I love the North End. Have you ever been to the North End in
Yeah,
Boston?
yeah.
Yeah, so a big Italian section. I remember walking around one day and going like, "Look at the size of that house." And you ever hear of the Skinny House?
Yes.
Okay, so there's literally a
Yeah,
skinny house. All right, it seems like it's only like 4 or 5 feet wide,
yeah,
and it's in between these two other houses. Now, realistic part of the story is that house was supposedly built by a soldier who came back from the war and got in a fight with his brother, so he built a piece of property on the land. I don't know how. I'm hearing so many different rumors on
yeah.
how that started. Then
It
there
was like
was
out of
like,
spite. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, out of spite, he blocked the view of the ocean or whatever, and he fit it between two other houses. But whatever it was, that played a big part in this story because it was just unique. It was just something different. So a lot of my research was just walking around saying, "Oh, that's cool," or hearing some story and putting a spin on it. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like,
It's there, and there's so many cool, unique little spaces. We did a episode of one of our other shows about, oh man, I want to say it's George's Island. That might be
mhm.
wrong. Um, but it is like in Plymouth Harbor, and it is almost completely privately owned, except for like one historic section that includes a rock, and it's called crap. We love our rocks up here.
Yeah.
It's like
Even the
it's like
small ones, like, love
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like
them.
Chapel Rock, or that's not it, but um, it's like where the first mass Christian mass in this country was held.
Right.
Um, but it's just this weird little island that there's only like maybe six houses on it, and
Hmm.
of course it's crazy, expensive property, but
Oh, sure.
there's like, I don't know if there's, I think there's electricity out there. I don't know if there's plumbing.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah,
this
yeah.
weird little island that, again, you walk down the shore, you see it all the time, but you never really stop to be like, hey, what the hell is that place? You
Exactly.
know?
And then, like, another, just walking through cemeteries and seeing gravestones and, questioning, like, you ever go to Cobb's Hill in Boston? It's like a gravestone. It's a graves.
No.
Yeah. They'll like have names like engraved onto the stone
Yeah.
under like the person's real name. And apparently, if you knew the gravedigger and didn't have money, he would just dig a little bit down, put your loved one there on top of someone else, and just engrave his
Oh, no
name on the
kidding.
bottom of the stone back in the day. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So basically, they stacked you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you stuff like that, I found kind of intriguing and used in the storyline. Like at one point, the kids get taken to a cemetery, and then they're looking at this gravestone, and they do a little digging, and they find a name, and then that name leads them, to a different story, part of the story. So,
Yeah. That's it's got to be like, sometimes well, you know, I'm not a big reader.
hmm.
But I'll watch a movie, and it's just like, I don't, like, how do you begin to write a mystery, like, or a treasure hunt? Like, I feel like, because you want it to not be, there's nothing worse than watching a movie and be like, oh, it's behind the clock, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah,
uh, so you know what it was for me, and again, I'm no expert in this. All right, I kind of got lucky with this one. I'm not gonna lie. I came out with it. It was more of something I've wanted to do in my life, and I didn't really care if I sold one. I
yeah,
was just like, this is something I just want to do. I want to make sure this. I check this off the block. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
exactly.
And next thing I know, it's Amazon number one. It's, top five pick for Barnes and Noble for the week it came out. And it
Oh,
kind of
that's awesome.
steamrolled for a little bit and it was
Yeah,
awesome. I loved it. And it's like, all right, well, now maybe I can do two. You know what I mean? And it helped my daughter get, pay for some of her college. So it worked out well. Um, but how I started was basically exactly what I told you earlier. And then I just went where I felt like going. Like I didn't have any chapters written. I didn't have an outline. I didn't brainstorm with anyone.
Yeah.
I started with a few things and then I said, all right, let's do this chapter. And then I'm like, oh, where are we going to go next? I don't know. Let's try this. And then next thing I know, I'm three-quarters of the way through the book and I didn't even have the finish. So I'm like, if I don't even have the finish, no one else is going to figure this out.
Yeah.
And then eventually, once it started, then I really, once I got three-quarters in, then I really just buckled down and took it to the next level, and then that's how I finished it up. But yeah, they call it, if you're a professional author, I guess they call it a pantster, where you basically write on the seat of your pants, by the seat of your pants. I don't. There's some authors out there that can literally go, I think I'm going to write chapter 17 today, and then they have it so outlined that they can actually go to 17 and then say tomorrow I'm going to do chapter 3.
Oh, jump
Not
around.
me. Not,
Yeah.
not me. I don't have anything. I just wing it, you know?
It you made me we play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons, and
Hmm.
I created it's literally a murder mystery, and I got the idea from another DM, but I don't know who the murderer is.
Hmm.
Literally every person that they come into contact has an alibi and a motive,
Yep.
and whoever they kind of key in on, well, there you go. That's good job. And it's interesting from my end because every time we play it is different, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So it's really like it gives them the feel of like trying to figure out who the villain is, and they can talk themselves out of it. Be like, oh well, we when we interviewed him, he said this, that, the other thing, and you're like, yeah, he did. And
Yeah.
then they're like, so let's go talk to this person, and off they go to talk to that person, and they kind of like they're the ones who are unknowingly writing the story as they go.
Yeah.
So it's
So
it's a lot of
yeah,
fun.
that's basically what I do, and it's tricky at first because you got to get the storyline, but I'm glad I do it that way because I could be two chapters in and then have a conversation with you and you'd be like, hey, did you hear about this? And then I'm like, no, but that's awesome. Let's add this into the story. And then
Yeah.
my whole third, fourth, and fifth chapter gets totally flipped around and changed because something else came in that was cooler. You know what I mean? So I love it. It's fun. But even right now, I'm almost done with book two, and I still don't know how I'm going to end it, and I don't know how I'm going to wrap it up.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't know if it'll help, but they did find a mummified monkey when they tore down Boston Garden.
You know what someone told me, and I'm trying to find out if it's true or not. Maybe some of your listeners will know, but there was in the Civil War, there was actually submarines used.
uh yes, I believe that was true. I
But I
don't
don't
think
know.
I don't think they were I don't know if they were used or if they were like prototyped.
All right. Well, either way,
Yeah.
I don't care if it's prototype,
Yeah.
but that might be a cool way to get off the island,
That could be
Alcatraz.
very cool. Yeah.
And then those two that supposedly escaped from Alcatraz, how cool would it be if they found one of those submarines? And that's how they escaped.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. That'd be interesting.
See, I'm gonna
Yeah.
I'm gonna get help writing the story.
Yeah, I'm almost certain that that they did again, I'm not sure like how much
Yeah,
they
I
were
don't really
used.
care.
Yeah.
I don't care how they get to San Francisco, but I just
That's not the
you know,
important part.
yeah,
Yeah.
that'll be the fiction. That's the
Yeah.
that's the fake part.
Uh like how much do you stretch when you're writing? Like are there times when you're like, "Oh, this would be a cool idea, but I can't go that far?"
I mean,
Which I mean is kind of like the Indiana Jones Crystal Skull, where I'm like, nope, I love the Nazis and religious stuff, but then you got the aliens, and that's just
it,
too far for Indiana Jones.
yeah, yeah, it's tricky. It is tricky because I mean, I love all that time travel stuff, and you know what I
Yeah,
mean. Like, yeah, I love if I could turn this book into more of like a Doc Tower series. You know what I mean,
yeah,
or something to that effect, then that would be cool. But I don't know. I kind of stay in my lane with the historical fiction stuff, but I will spin some facts if they're cool.
yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you is this? do you envision this being like an ongoing series or like a
I
trilogy?
mean, ideally, there's a lot of good presidents out there that could make could make a really cool story. Um, would I love to see six? Yes. Do I think I have six books in me? Probably not.
Yeah.
I just don't have the ability. It's a lot. I'm not gonna lie. It's not as easy as people think. You know what I mean? Like, oh, let's just write a story. Well, you ever write a couple page report in school? Well, try doing that 300 times.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
exactly. And
You know
then
what I mean?
having to
It's
go back and edit it.
yeah,
That
yeah, exactly. It's not as easy, and get an A every time, every 300 times. You know what I
right.
mean? So because you don't want to, you don't want a F chapter or a D chapter every. You know what I mean? You want to
Yeah.
have A grades. That's the way I look at it. All right, would
Sure.
I get an A if this chapter went to my teacher in English? Or, you know what I mean? So I don't know. It's tricky. It's a lot of work, but I do enjoy it. Until I stop enjoying it, I think I'll stop.
I mean, to me, that's kind of our motto here. It's like if it's
Yeah.
not fun, why are we wasting our time doing it? Like we don't have
Exactly.
to. So
I love what I do for work. I mean, I love going to work. Where else do I get to work with my father, my uncle, my good friend, my two kids every day? You know
yeah.
what I mean? And so it's not even like work. I mean, it is. We work hard, but it's really not, and it's fun. And when that stops getting fun, then whatever. But it's I don't feel like I'm working a day in my life right now. You know what I mean?
I,
So that's the
I
best.
completely relate to that.
Yep.
We did a new event this past summer where we brought three punk rock bands onto a mini golf course and put on a concert.
That's awesome.
And it was just one of those where you're sitting there and you're watching, your friends' bands play and you're having a good time, people playing mini golf, and it's, and then you have to be like, oh yeah, I'm working. I'm responsible for all that. Like I
Exactly.
do it because I want to see it come to fruition and be a thing. And I think that people will enjoy it. And then, it's if it fails and you're like, all right, well, we won't do that next year.
Well, I knew I was gonna like you when I realized you orchestrated a book signing in a brewery. I'm like, this guy's cool.
I can't take credit for it because it was a friend of mine's idea. I get pitched a lot of ideas,
I'm sure you do.
and a friend of mine is like, I have an idea for you. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, do you remember going to school and they have those scholastic book fairs with the
Yeah.
big rolling things? And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, yeah. She's like, you should do that. I'm like, what? I'm like, I'm not gonna buy a bunch of books. Like, then I gotta store them. And she's like, no, 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 no. She's like, you invite the authors into the brewery, and I'm like, oh, I can totally do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I find it funny because I am a dyslexic person who does not read much at all,
Hmm.
and I'm in a room full of like 25 vendors who are all like, oh, check out my book. I'm like, I super appreciate that, but I'm not gonna read it, and I don't mean it in a rude way. Is there an audiobook?
Yeah,
uh,
exactly. Well,
yeah.
don't feel so bad. My own son, he hasn't even read it yet
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
either.
Usually, and like I was telling you before we started, like I've done so many podcasts, and eventually, your significant other or your family comes up in some form, and people are always like, oh, aren't you worried that like if you like no one I know like that's that close listens because they listen to you all the
Yeah.
time, so they're like, yeah, whatever. So, but so it's funny that usually though, like when you start something new, they'll check it out. But
Yeah.
that's funny. Do you think it could end up, or have you been approached about it being like a movie, a Netflix thing? Because it seems like everyone's trying to make content now.
Yeah. I had that come up a lot. I haven't really pushed it yet, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Because I kind of wanted to get two done and finished and wrapped up, and then we'll see where it goes. But I did have a lot of people say that that would be a pretty cool movie, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Because it's, I mean, little it's kids in there like teens,
Yep.
breaking into the White House. You know what I mean? How cool is that? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
It's
then they get they find an island. There's so many different things that this takes you on an adventure. And you're bouncing from North End, Boston to the White House to jumping on a helicopter and flying to this cool like Martha's Vineyard type island. And yeah, it would be interesting. I mean, I'd love to see it a movie. Netflix, let me know.
I don't think they listen. I mean, they might.
Hey, you never
Yeah.
know.
But it's there's just so many like avenues for content now, and they're all trying to make their own stuff. It just seems like there's a
hmm
lot of stuff that is getting made that I'm just like, wow, I never expected to see that. Or I mean, there was
Well, look
even
at Wednesday. Have you watched the new season of
yeah,
Wednesday?
I've been watching the new season. I watched the first season. I'm like, wow, that's a
That
lot better than I thought it was gonna be.
I didn't think it was going to be that good. It was pretty
Yeah,
good. Yeah.
yeah. But and we're in like this golden age of content where there's phenomenal things that are being made that would never be made before, but they get lost amongst all the crap. There's so
Mm,
much stuff, and it's
I know.
it's it's hard to kind of like get the word out about whatever your project is.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the powerhouses like Amazon, like spread that I still, I'll get royalty checks from Amazon every month because it just powerhouse. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
don't advertise it. It just, you sell a couple books a month or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Same with Barnes and Noble. But when you doing events like yours and stuff, and that's where you get your name out there slowly. But it's good that a lot of stuff is out there, but it also makes it difficult because, like you said, a lot of it gets washed away. You
yeah,
know, a lot of like this book here. If you look now, it's probably ranked 20 in the teen young adult category. But if you look on Amazon, it's probably in the millions, ranked in like the lowest million. So there's a million better books than that right now.
yeah.
So it's cool, but you know. I love doing like smaller events and trying to get it locally publicized. And then, if it gets picked up by Netflix and does a series or whatever, or even I don't even care if it's a 30-minute show, I'll be happy. And I'm the only one watching it, I'm even better.
Then you have to make your son watch it. You're like, you're gonna sit
Yeah,
down,
yeah,
you're
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
watch
yeah, yeah.
this. Um,
Exactly.
that's super funny.
I won't be like the guy from Game of Thrones. You want more? I'll give you as much as you want.
that's the thing. If you have two, they're definitely gonna want you to have a third one.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
exactly,
because
exactly.
everything's got to be a trilogy.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you? So you're not sure how many books you want to do, but do you have kind of like a
I got one more in me after this one,
yeah?
at
But do
least.
you kind of have like a boat, like an idea for being like this is maybe not how that particular story ends, but this is kind of where Tyler kind of walks off into the sunset and retires. That kind of
Yeah, yeah, I
the
do
I'm too old for
actually.
this shit moment.
Yeah, I do. So, if I can get there and I can push through and do it, yeah, I think I have a really cool spin that everyone on would like. I won't
Yeah,
be hated there, and I won't be hated, for killing off the main kid. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It would actually be a pretty cool spin on it.
And
But we'll see.
yeah, and that's to me, that's one of the problems with how media is made now is they all try to kind of leave it vague and open ended in case it
hmm
takes off. I'm like, just give it a solid ending, and if it's got a solid ending,
Yeah, well,
i.e.,
this one's got a solid ending.
Matrix.
I could technically quit
Yeah,
right now and be good, but they're all independent. So
yeah,
it's not like it's just like they are following each other, but they're all independent. You know what I
yeah.
mean? You
Well, I was
ever
just thinking
read?
I was thinking like Matrix, and I remember that movie came out with such a big success, and they're like, we're gonna make two more, and I'm like, how? It's over. How are
Yeah,
you gonna make more?
yeah,
And then they made
exactly.
them, and you're like, oh, it's not good.
Yeah, it's kind of like the old school series where they all have the same characters
Yep.
and but every every episode's a little different, has a
Hmm.
different spin to it, but it's all the same kind of thing.
Yeah,
So that book is independent. The next one's kind of independent, but it's all the same characters. They introduce extra characters. A couple characters leave, and then boom, boom, boom. So,
kind of
but
the James Bond format.
yes,
Yeah,
but there is a backspin that kind of ties them all in together as well. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So they all have there's a pocket watch involved, and that pocket watch is carried through all the books as well, and that's kind of their timepiece to kind of help them through the adventures. You know what I mean? It gives them clues.
cool,
So yeah,
nice.
yeah.
And so jumping back to the clean out thing because I find it fascinating, being
Oh,
a bit of a collector slash hoarder myself.
oh my God, the stuff we find, it's
What
insane.
what has been like? Is there like one item that stands out above the rest?
I mean, nothing crazy like one item, but we we had an antique store in Edaville Railroad. Did you ever go to Edaville Railroad?
No, I don't believe so. I think we talked about this when we were at Mayflower. So I remember you mentioning that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we're Blackbeard Incorporated, but we owned Blackbeard's General Store inside Edaville Railroad, and
Okay.
unfortunately, Edaville closed. So now I'm in the process of opening a new store. But we sold antiques and collectibles in there. So I mean, I've had every video game system new in box, all the way from Atari up to the new stuff. I mean, I do have this really cool Civil War book that has every soldier from the state. So a page is Massachusetts, and it's all the soldiers when they enlisted, when they got out, how they got out, what battles they were in. So that's kind of a cool book. Um, like I said, I found some stuff that the Supreme Court, that they took in their historical society because it was about a justice that they didn't know much about. I got his high school diploma and stuff like that. Um,
At what point when you find something, do you have that getting back to him Indiana Jones moment where you're like, this belongs in a museum, not in a collector's hands?
so, like I said, I've been collecting so much since I was a kid.
Yeah.
If I see it and I say I've never seen one of those, it's probably pretty rare.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but over the years we've had so many different collectibles. Like
Yeah.
say knock on wood, hopefully it never happens for 100 years, but say your grandmother dies or whatever, and you go in there and you're like, oh my God, she has a Singer sewing machine. It has to be worth $1 million. You know what I mean? Well, I walk in and you're like, look at the Singer sewing machine. It's got to be
Yeah.
worth $1 million. And I tell you, I had seven of them last week, and we bust them off, and we scrap the base, and we sell the base, and you know what I mean,
Yep.
because they're really not worth anything. So it's all relative of how many you see. You know what I mean? If you've only seen one of those cool Singer sewing machines in your life, you think they're worth $1 million. I've seen seven a week. It's not worth as much. And I've tried to sell them over the years, and I know what their values are, and I know what they get, and I know how much, if you get 25 bucks for one at a flea market or a yard sale, you're doing good. So, um, if I look at something and I go, I've never seen that before, and I don't know what it is, and I use WorthPoint or I have these apps that I pay for
Yeah.
to look it up, then chances are it's usually pretty good. And
You
then
know,
there's a guy that works with me that's even better than me, and if he says that's good, then I know it is.
it's funny. I used to have a comic book shop, and it was always that I always wanted the stuff that they didn't think was good,
Yes.
because they'd be like, "Oh, I have all these comics, and they're all issue one," and you'd be like, "Yeah, because no one reads these. Like, this is
Yeah.
not, no one cares." But that number 50 you have, that's the first appearance of Deadpool or whatever. That one I'm
Exactly.
interested in. and,
Exactly.
and it was always number one comic books I hated, and I hated anything that was marked Star Wars in any way, shape, or form.
I agree. But I did just sell a graded Star Wars #1 recently,
Yeah,
just because it's that iconic cover for it. But
yeah,
But I agree with you. So I hate number ones, but I do love first appearances. Like I just recently picked up the Silver Age first appearance of Riddler. That's a cool comic.
Oh,
That's a
that's
cool
yeah,
cover. You know what I
that's
mean?
a nice one.
I have the first appearance of Batgirl. That's just a cool cover.
Yeah,
So I don't, and here's where I'm odd. I don't play baseball. I don't watch baseball. I have a really cool baseball card collection. I don't really read comics, but I
yeah,
love collecting them and I love the covers and I'll grade them and never even open them again. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
But I just love collecting so much. That's what I do, you know?
yeah. And I mean, I think it's kind of a love of history, and
Hmm.
you have a love of history, but we're almost the same age, so like you kind of grew up immersed in that pop culture world, which
I
is
did.
now, you know, I hate to say it, but history.
Exactly. I
you
know.
know,
You know, it's true. It's true. But where I see in selling stuff, I'm seeing all the stuff that we grew up with
yeah,
really being coming popular again. And I
oh yeah,
and it's trend. It's funny how things trend. So maybe 5, 10 years ago, $6 million man figures were going through the roof. All right.
really
Yeah.
interesting.
And now they still hold value. They still
Yeah,
hold value if you, especially if you got the what is it? Not
the
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 Sasquatch one.
yeah,
That guy, I can't think of what it is, you know what I mean? But
and the it's always and that's the other thing. It's always the other ones or the later issues, like the
yeah,
Sasquatch and his boss, whoever the
yeah,
hell his boss
something
was.
like that.
Yeah,
But and then now you look and like Ninja Turtle stuff's real popular. So what I'm finding is as people get older, especially, like us, all right?
yeah,
We're in a position now in our lives where you know what, we can spend a little bit of extra money to buy something cool that we had from our childhood. So I think that's what
yep,
trending is happening is stuff that we had was as a kid is now becoming popular. Back in the day, about a couple years ago, people were buying Ataris. Now no one's buying Ataris. Everyone's buying Sega Genesises, and then next like Dreamcast is
GameCubes and yeah,
and then it's going to be Xboxes and original Xboxes and stuff like that as time passes when the 40-year-old guys are going, you know what, I got a little extra money now, I can buy something cool that I had when I was a child.
yeah.
And that's where I'm seeing it. That's what I see happens with collectibles.
I
Now
see very much the same thing. Yeah,
yeah, the
and
old stuff. So I'm a firm believer. My PC, my personal collection, I try to keep the best of the best, because that stuff's always gonna be good.
yeah,
First appearance of Batgirl is always gonna be good. You know what I
yep,
mean? I mean it's not as good as the first appearance of Batman, but it's gonna be good. You know what I mean? You
yeah,
got to go with what you can afford. So I'll typically flip a bunch of crap and then turn it into one cool thing. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, for
So
sure.
I'll do that a lot. I'll buy 5,000 Hot Wheels and turn them into one, red line 1969 with the blister pack. You know what I mean? Something like,
Hmm.
or something to that effect.
Yeah,
And that's I've done that forever. And it doesn't matter. Like I'm not streamlined into one collection.
yeah.
Yes, baseball cards is my thing. That's my main collection, but I go into these houses and if I find something cool, I'm like, ooh, let's go this way. And I'm like, that's really cool. Let's start collecting lunchboxes now. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah,
It's
that's how
crazy.
I ended up with the store. How I ended up with the store back in the day was my mother was an avid yard sailor,
Hmm.
and I'd just go along and I would see something, I'd be like, that's that's Rodan. That's a Shogun Warrior Rodan. Does no one else see this Rodan sitting here for $2? I'm not gonna leave it here for $2.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then suddenly accumulate this crap, and then you're like, I don't want it. I knew
Couldn't
it's a
pass it
hundred
up.
dollar thing for $2. I'm not. So then you'd get a table at a toy show or whatever, and
Yep.
make a few $100s. And you're like, well, that was fun. And
I could do this every day.
yeah, yeah, essentially. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was always like trying to. Like, I was more interested in stuff like that than the flash in the pan, like uh the Beanie Babies, like that.
Yeah, oh
The
yeah.
manufactured collectible, I was like, I don't really care, you know.
It's funny you said that because one of my biggest pet peeves with this newest baseball card collections and stuff like that. Now I know you're not a baseball guy, but you probably know the junk wax era, the 80s and 90s
Yep.
stuff that they mass produced and stuff like that. Luckily, most of the companies have fixed that. All
Yeah.
right. So, but what they're doing now is these manufactured rarities. So they're doing these 101s or these prisms or these pink versions of this version. I still am a guy that likes real rarities.
Yeah.
You know, I would take a Ty Cobb T206 that there's only 100 or so known to exist versus a 101 Albert Pujols. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Every day, and that's kind of going what you're saying. You know what I mean? I like the rarities of certain items, and preserving that as an artifact, as something that because let's face it, what it is. My job is to throw stuff out, and
Right.
it kills me because a lot of stuff just goes into landfills, never to be seen again. So if I can preserve one item or sell it to someone, that use that money to help my family, and they preserve it, and it goes in the right hands. Like I just sold a sign to Robbie Wolf, from American Pickers. Like he'll, I know he's going to preserve that sign and
Yep.
put that sign in the right hands. So. I've sold on Pawn Stars to those guys, and I know stuff that I sold to them. They're gonna make sure it goes into the right hands, and it's just fun to see where the stuff ends up.
Yeah. I love those collectors who are like, I mean, it's in my collection, but I'm more a custodian for the next person.
Exactly. I mean, let's
And
let's face it. I can't take it with me.
right.
As much as I'll try.
I got to interview this guy whose name is not going to come to me,
Yeah.
but his Instagram is props to history,
Okay.
and he's a prop master in the film and TV world. And he got brought in by this company whose also name will not come to me because I'm not great with names, but they're the company that produces anything that's printed in any way, shape, or form for movies.
Hmm.
The guy who started the company, who's the company is named for, was asked to print something by the Warner Brothers, the two brothers named Warner, and
Wow.
that's how the company started. So the company's over 100 years old. They
Yeah.
brought this guy in because they're like, we don't have any idea of what's here because they get a job for this movie. They print enough for the movie, and if you don't have extra, you don't have enough. So there's
Yeah.
always extra, and they put that job on a shelf and get started on the next job before that movie's even filmed.
Hmm.
And then it becomes a huge hit. Now there's just random stuff on shelves. He was someone was found like an air vent that someone had stuffed paper in
Yeah.
because it was like blowing on their desk or whatever, and they were taking the paper out and it's like blueprints for the flux capacitor. Um
That's crazy.
someone had written a lunch order, and it was like the Bill Murray time cover from Ghostbusters.
Wow.
I mean, in like I'm talking with him, and he's just like taking stuff off the wall in his office, being like, "Look, it's the Playboy version from Back to the Future, and oh, I have
Yeah.
this, and it's
Insane.
yeah, it just he found stuff from like the Maltese Falcon, and just I mean,
Really.
yeah, I
That's
mean
crazy.
bearer bonds from uh, Lethal Weapon. It just is this vast thing of movie history that is just completely disorganized. I'd be like, well, that shelf over there is money, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
some of it's specific things from different sci-fi movies. It was amazing to watch the videos of, and to get to talk to him was phenomenal.
Yeah,
So
it
like,
it blows my mind how much money is in the collecting world.
yeah,
Like, you look around, and I mean, I deal with low figure stuff, and I mean, if we hit the 5 figure stuff, it's pretty cool, you know what I mean? There's dudes out there and that are spending millions of dollars on a piece of
yeah,
cardboard or
yeah,
or a toy or it just blows my mind how much money is out there in the collecting world. But that's a good thing because it's pushing it forward, you know what I mean? Pushing it
yeah.
up.
And I think most people have something they collect, and it doesn't have to be Like I think that's kind of where I'm now. Like I don't have to collect anything valuable. I
Yeah,
just want to collect something, kind of like that. I'm like, oh, that reminds me of that time that I got to do blah 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 blah. So there's all sorts of
yeah,
like knickknacks and weird shit, and
yeah.
that to
My
me
father,
that's
he doesn't want anything. He tells me all the time he collects money. That's about it.
pictures of dead presidents. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I've heard that one.
exactly.
Yeah. So, but where can people go to get the book? I know you mentioned Amazon, but like, do you have a
Yeah, so
website?
if you're local, it's in the stores around here, Barnes and Noble, but you can get it on barnesandnoble.com, you can get it on Amazon, you can always hit me up on any of my social medias. I'll send you out a signed one, no problem at all. I really appreciate it, man. This has been great.
Yeah. Do you have so the any idea when the second book will be out, even like ballpark wise?
Yeah, so Hingham Barnes and Noble was in the works of doing an exclusive release party for it.
Okay.
So I'm hoping November. That's when I'm
Oh, that's
waiting. I'm
soon.
waiting for a date. What? Yeah, I know it's
That's
close.
soon. Yeah.
I'm getting really close. I'm hoping the end of November. So that's the goal.
Oh, nice. Cool. I'll have to keep my eyes open for that.
Yeah.
So listeners, make sure you check that out. I know you said that the character is teenagers, but is this kind of like a book for like young adults or
Yeah, so
yeah.
this is how weird it is, man. It's a young adult category book.
Yeah.
I've had more adults read it than young adults. So,
I mean, look
uh,
at Harry Potter.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I know. If you're ever going to read a young adult book, that's one to read too. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's a great book. All of them. I read them all. But yeah, so you can find it anywhere. You can definitely reach out to me. I'd appreciate it. And it's been great, man. Thanks for dressing like me.
I mean, we have a uniform we have to uphold.
Epic beards,
Yeah,
hat,
yeah.
glasses,
I,
black.
I'm just happy your beard's as gray as mine. I get a lot of like young people on this show because we do a lot of musicians and they're kind of like up and coming.
Yeah.
And it's nice when someone would be like, our age, or when we were kids, and I'm like, yeah, we were the kids at the same time.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
exactly,
no.
exactly.
But I appreciate coming on. Listeners, make sure you check out Tyler Madison Search for George Washington's Treasure. Did I get that right?
What's that? Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
it's right here. Hold on it.
Okay.
And the secret.
And the secret of George Washington's Treasure. I
You
was
got
close.
it. You got
Um,
it.
and look for the new one in November, and we'll see you guys again next week.
Awesome. Thank you.
And thanks for checking out the show today, listeners. If you enjoyed the content today, you can go over to patreon.com/Inebri-art to support the show. You can join over there for just a few dollars a month and help us provide this fun content that you just checked out. You can also email us at inebriart.com with your questions, complaints, and concerns, or you can find us on all social medias at Inebri-art or at Inebri-art6 on Instagram. And also don't forget to check out our other shows, Bar Talk Podcast, Old Colony Cast, Inebri-art, and all the other shows on the Inebri-art Network, which you can find at inebriart.com. Thanks again for listening.